few minutes for people to come in. God willing, I know it's been 2 weeks Zoom shiur. Hopefully, we'll keep the weekly shiur going. Um, Here we go. Parashat Shelech Lecha. In a nutshell, Moshe sends 12 spies to check out Eretz Israel, and they came back, saw interesting things, giants, giants, oversized fruit, and unfortunately, 10 out of 12 of them came back with a negative report, of course, except for Yehoshua and Kalev. Kalev tries calming down the nation who believed the report, but to no avail. Israel went hysterical. They want to go back to Egypt. And Hashem tells Moshe that he's had enough with the Jewish nation and he's done with them. And Moshe, as the great leader he was, prays on our behalf and is successful. But a punishment comes to Bnei Israel that now that they were about to go into Israel, that's now delayed, and they have to be 40 years in the desert. And during those 40 years, connected to the 40 days that the spies were in Eretz Israel, so a year punishment per day. And throughout those 40 years, the 600,000 men that was the Jewish nation, basically the men, um, component of the nation, of course, between ages 20 and 60, because they wanted to go with the Meraglim, with the spies, and believe their words, they were to die in the desert during that time. And the children during those 40 years that were below age 20 would grow up, and those are the ones to enter Israel. Toward the end of the parasha, it talks about laws of korbanot, sacrifices, laws of challah. Hi, George, welcome. Laws of the story of the laws of idol worship, the story of the wood gatherer, the Mikoshesh Etzim on Shabbat, and also the laws of tzitzit are at the end of the parasha. So let's get into a few things. So when the Jewish nation hear the story from the spies, they want to go back to Egypt. Why do they want to go back to Egypt? They didn't have such an easy time there. So off the bat, an evil that you know is better than evil that you don't know. And going into now this place with giants, etc., the way that they were described, so they were worried, so they want to go back to Egypt. But the Bala Turim tells us that the words in the pasuk "Nitina Rosh v'Nashuva Mitzrayma," those let's go back to Egypt. The first letter of each of those words is the numerical value of the words Avodah Zarah, idol worship. In Egypt, the Jewish nation sunk to the 49th level of impurity, which was an impurity of idol worship, and they wanted to go back to that. Why did they want to go back to that? Pasuk also tells us, Asher achalnu bechinam, we ate there for free. What does it mean they ate for free? Nobody gives free food. They worked hard for whatever they did there. Rashi tells us free means free from any responsibility. Now they got the Torah. Now they're going to go into Israel. And there's a lot of responsibilities to uphold the Torah, to come into the land. And now they're not going to get the food anymore, the man and the slav and the heavenly type of meat. They're going to have to work the land. But they didn't want that. They wanted to be chinam min hamitzvot, free from any responsibility. They don't want to be tied down. And that was the mindset of Bnei Yisrael after hearing the spies' words, and it's easy to be complacent. It's easy to let go of any responsibilities. But our job as a Jew is to take the responsibilities seriously, take the Torah seriously, and chas v'shalom not run away from our responsibilities. So that's the first piece for today is recognizing our responsibility. They see and they hear about Israel, that it's tough and it's difficult. Instead of embracing it, this is the place that Hashem wants us to go. This is the place that Moshe took us out of Egypt in order to go there, etc. They want to turn back to be free of responsibility. Now, how could it be that the spies spoke bad of the land? Like this is Eretz Yisrael. This is what we were longing for. This is Hashem promised Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov. This is like the culmination. We're going to Israel, and you guys are going spying the land, and you're talking bad about it. What's the deal? So there's many answers to this as to what got them to derail. Here's a few. Some of them are not such common ones. The first, and this is kind of like a Hasidic answer, is when they went there as spies, they obviously didn't dress like a regular Jew would dress, however that dress was. They dressed like the Canaanim, like the locals. So it says the Hasidic angle is when you dress like a local, you act like a local. When you dress like a non-Jew, you act like a non-Jew, and therefore they acted like that, and they were able to talk negative about Israel because that's who they were. That's who they dressed up as. And that's why it's a Hasidic explanation. They're very into their clothing, the special hat, the special long coat, and the white socks, and the this and the that. I was once talking to a Hasidic rabbi, and he told me the reason is because their mentality is to be distinct. And when you're distinct, he says, "How can my son?" This rabbi was telling me, "How can my son, who's dressed?" And the way he said it was in b'shmona b'gadim with eight clothings, meaning just like a Kohen Gadol wore eight special clothings. So too, he says, how could my son who's dressed with the vest and the shirt and the tzitzit on top and the white shirt and the black shoes and the hat, how could he go to the movies? So he said, how could he go to the movies? How could he go to a place maybe that's not befitting for him if he's dressed like that? Um, so a dress, plays a big role in a person. The person can be a great person, but the outside does affect the inside. So that's the first answer as to what caused the spies to derail. Hasidic answer, they dressed like them, they acted like them. The second answer, this is the Zohar HaKadosh. The Zohar, the mystical parts of the Torah, tells us the deep thoughts that we can't see on the surface. And the deep thought is, and this is a famous answer, is that they knew that upon entering Israel, there's going to be a shift because they were the heads of the tribes, and they were the spies were the heads of the tribes. So they knew that when they enter Israel, there's going to be new heads, and they wanted to hold on to their job. So they said, you know what? Let's just talk bad about Israel. It'll avoid us entering, and we'll hold on to our jobs. So the Pasuk doesn't tell us this. The Zohar teaches this to us. And the Zohar, like I mentioned, the mystical part, this could be in the deep, deep crevices of a person's heart. Like, really, what's your intention? We need the Zohar to teach us that. Like, there's no psukim, it doesn't tell us. But really, what's their intention? And you see from here, sometimes maybe their intention wasn't so pure. But another explanation is kind of the opposite explanation, because at the end of the day, if they were heads of the tribe, they must have been tzaddikim, they must have been righteous. So here's a beautiful answer as to why they spoke bad of Israel. And the answer goes as follows. They were so righteous. They were very righteous, so righteous to the point they knew Moshe Rabbeinu was punished and was not going to enter Israel. They knew that. And therefore they said like this, it's better that we delay going into Israel so that Moshe stays alive longer than us going into Israel and then Moshe's going to die. Unbelievable. So they wanted to sacrifice the going into Israel, the promise that Hashem gave to Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, and the culmination of like everything they've been waiting for. They were willing to throw that away for Moshe Rabbeinu, for their leader. They wanted him alive longer. It's coming from a very righteous angle. The only thing is, it's still a mistake. Hashem wanted us to go into Israel. It's not up to you to make that calculation. If the calculation, it's like a Robin Hood calculation, stealing from the rich, give to the poor. Like that's nice. You want to give to the poor, but you're not allowed to steal, and therefore that's your own calculation. You can't have your own calculations here. If your calculations fit in halacha, then that's great. But if here they're meant to go into Israel, they're meant to not speak lashon hara, and now you want to speak lashon hara in order to give more life to Moshe. That's nice, but that's incorrect. And the fourth explanation as to why, how could it be that they spoke lashon hara about Eretz Israel? And the fourth explanation goes as follows. The Gemara tells us that there are three things that are acquired through Mesirut Nefesh, through difficulties: Torah, Eretz Israel, and Olam Haba, and the world to come. Torah, you want to acquire Torah? It's not easy. It's work. It's serious. Um, it's available for you. It's available for everyone. Everyone can do it. We're built that we could do it, but it's not easy. Eretz Israel, of course, getting on a plane, filling out some Aliyah papers, making Aliyah, that seems easy. When you live in Israel and you really want to acquire living in Israel, there's difficulties. And because of the upside, the great spiritual upside, there's difficulties, there's challenges. You want to get great upside of Torah, you want to get great upside of Israel, there's going to be challenges, and it's going to take work, suffering, and giving up on luxuries, and take hard work. And of course, Olam Haba. We wanna inherit and get great reward for our actions. We got to work hard. So when it comes to Israel, Israel's the place that's meant for every Jew. That's where we fulfill our highest spiritual potential. But it takes work. When the Jewish nation left Har Sinai after receiving the Torah, the Chachamim tell us they left like a school child running out of school. When school's over, the bell rings, the kids run out. What are they running? Why just stay at school? They don't want school. They want to play. They want to have fun. They want no rules. They want stress-free. And in a certain way, Bnei Israel were a little bit punished for running away after they received the Torah. They're like, oh, okay, fine, we're done. No more rules now. Or like, we're okay. It was a nice show. Okay, we accepted the Torah, but we just want to like take a break. Um, the Mesirut Nefesh for Torah is why punishments came to them in the desert. The they were supposed to meant to work hard for Torah. So too here, the spies came to Israel and they saw hardships. They saw giants. They saw infertile land. They saw people dying, and they're like, you know what? In the desert, we're getting free food from the heavens. We're getting free meat. Like, let's just stay there, stress free. If they're coming to Israel, we're gonna have to plow the land. We're gonna have to then give 10% to the Levi, to the Kohen. It's like Truma, Maser, all these rules, all these laws. Let's just stay here, stress free, etc. They didn't want to work. They didn't want to work for the greatness, for the goodness of Eretz Israel. And that's what brought about their Lashon Hara and looking things in the wrong way and expressing things against Israel because they didn't want that hard work. Hashem could have given, we just passed Shavuot, Hashem could have given the Torah to angels, but he didn't. He gave it to human beings. He gave it to human beings with faults, with struggles, with worries, with tests. And we have to recognize that and recognize that our purpose is to put effort to overcome those tests, those struggles, those worries, and work hard in Hashem's Torah, have Mesirut Nefesh and sacrifice for Hashem's Torah in order to acquire the sweetness of Torah, Eretz Yisrael, and Olam Haba. So the fourth answer is they just wanted a little bit of a stress-free life and wanted to not work as hard and didn't want that Mesirut Nefesh. But that's why they ended up speaking bad about Eretz Yisrael. The opposite of Lashon Hara is Lashon HaTov, a good word. Everyone needs a word of encouragement, even if you're at a very high level. Here's a story about that. The story goes of, we know the great rabbi, and I've mentioned him before in recent speeches, Rabbi Shalom Eliashiv. Rabbi Eliashiv was a great tzaddik, passed away about 15 years ago, was on the same bet din with Rabbi Ovadia Yosef for 40 years. His grandfather, Rabbi Shlomo Eliashiv, wrote a famous explanation on the Zohar called the Leshem. That's what the book's called. And the Leshem was born in 1841, passed away in 1926, and he put out his book, and his book spread like wildfire. But back in the day, early 1900s, late 1800s, spreading like wildfire. There was no, TikTok or Instagram or anything like that, or emails. It was word of mouth and mail or whatever. So the story goes that Ben Ish Chai in Iraq received that book. The Ben Ish Chai passed away in 1909. This rabbi, the Leshem, passed away in 1926. He wrote the book earlier in his life, and it reached the Ben Ish Chai 1900, circa the year 1900. It reaches the Ben Ish Chai. He's so happy about this book, this explanation of the Zohar, that he throws a party. Not just any party. He makes like a Hachnasat Sefer Torah, a party that we do for when we bring a Torah into the congregation. He makes that type of party to show how important this book is. And communication was very slow as well, like we mentioned. And word got back to the author, Rabbi Shlomo Eliashiv, in Europe, that the Ben Ish Chai in Iraq made like a crazy party when he got your book. And it was only years later that he got this message. And when he got the message, the rabbi, Rabbi Shlomo Eliashiv, was crying. He said, what are you crying about? Like tears of joy, I assume. Like you're so happy that you made such a party about your book. And he said, of course, I'm so happy. But if I would have known how great my book is accepted, I would have put out so many more books. I have so many more manuscripts. I would have done so much more. No one gave me that good word. No one gave me that no one showed me how important my stuff is. And therefore I just thought I'm just like anyone else. Okay, I put out a book, whatever. But if they would have shown me how important it is, I would have done even more. And therefore, the importance of a good word, never hold back a good word, never hold back giving someone chizuk and strength, never hold back building up a friend, never hurts you. How great a good word could be. So many stories about this said over the years. Um, say a story of, they say a story that there was a FBI agent in San Francisco that he would look into suicides. People would jump off the Golden Gate Bridge, and he would look into those cases. And one story always stuck with him that after going to the body and finding out who it is, he went to the person's house and they found a letter that this person left. This person said in his letter that he's a loner. No one says hi to him. No one speaks to him. And he says he's going now walking to the Golden Gate Bridge. He says, if anyone says good morning to me, if anyone says hello to me, I will turn back around and continue with my life. And obviously nobody did. And it was unfortunately a devastating ending. Um, a part that I never added to the story is that I went to San Francisco 2 summers ago and I had this story in my mind. And when walking in the streets, I was actually surprised to see how many people said good morning or good afternoon to me. So um, I guess the guy didn't go on the right street or whatever it was. Um, Another story, the story goes of a person, just of course the importance of a good word. Story goes of a person who was in a drive-through to get a coffee, and he said, "You know what? I want to pay for the car behind me." And the car behind him was so shocked that someone in front of him paid. He drove ahead to catch up to the person, catches up to the person, and he says, "You don't know, you saved my life." He said, "What are you talking about? I didn't save you. I paid for your coffee. I didn't save your life." He said, the person said, "Crazy." He's like, "I was about to take my life. I just wanted the last coffee before I go." Then you just gave me trust again in humanity. So I'm continuing on with my life. Unbelievable. Um, Toward the end of the parasha, it talks about the laws of challah, one of the woman mitzvot of taking off a piece of challah, piece of dough that we give to the Kohen. Nowadays, we don't give it to the Kohen, we burn it. What's the connection between the story of the Meragalim and dough? And one of the connections from the Sefer Shem Mishmuel goes as follows. When do you take off the piece of dough? Obviously, it's when it's in a state of dough as opposed to when it's a state of flour. You don't take off flour from the mix or from before you start and you say, okay, this flour is going to go for the Kohen or this flour we're going to set aside and burn or whatever. You do hafrashat challah at the time of dough. The time of dough, that is the time of unity of the flour and water. That's the mix. That's the togetherness right there. And that message is saying that the Meraglim, when they came back from talking, they came back and they spoke bad about Israel. They caused a disunity. They caused a separation. And the Torah is hinting to us how important unity is, how important being together is, one nation, one group, and that's hinted to in the mitzvah of challah. And to end, the Parashah speaks about the Mekoshesh Etzim. The Mekoshesh Etzim was a person who gathered wood on Shabbat, and it was a debate as to what his law would be, and it was deemed as a breaking of the laws of Shabbat. And unfortunately, at the time, he was met with the death penalty for breaking Shabbat publicly and knowingly, etc. Now, the Chachamim tell us who was this person, who was this person who um, who did this. It doesn't tell us who. Our rabbis tell us it was Tzilov Chad. We know from the Torah where it talks about the daughters of Tzilov Chad, where this man Tzilov Chad only had five daughters, he didn't have any boys. And and there it says the daughters were wanting a piece of land of Israel because it was only supposed to go to the boys. They said, why should we lose out? My dad didn't have boys. And they said, our father died bechetomet. He died with his sin. And the rabbis say, that's the sin that we're talking about over here. This guy, Tzilov Chad. So there's a Gemara in Masechet Shabbat. I love quoting this Gemara that tells us the following story. There was a person on Shabbat who was in his backyard, and he noticed that part of the wall, the stone wall in his backyard, was broken. And he thought to himself for a moment, like, I should repair I should repair this. And right away he thought again and said, I shouldn't have these thoughts on Shabbat about repairing and building. I'll wait for after Shabbat. I shouldn't even have these thoughts. And as a reward for not thinking about desecrating Shabbat, a bush grew in that spot. And the bush was a type of bush that you could benefit a lot from. The bush was called a tzlaf bush. The Gemara talks about that it has fruits and it has the leaves you could benefit from, and like every part of it is like useful. And the Ben Ish Chai says that this Gemara is actually a connection to our person here who collected the wood and violated Shabbat. Our rabbis, as I mentioned, said that this person is called Tzilov Chad. This bush in the story was called a tzlaf. The Gemara says tzlaf Chad, one tzlaf bush grew there. Tzlaf Chad is the same name. And here we spoke about this as well not long ago at Shul, the concept of Gilgulim, reincarnations, that this person was brought down back to this world to sanctify the Shabbat. Meaning the guy in the story of the Torah, like what's the Torah teaching us? The guy just wanted to like break Shabbat, and the intention was that this person, Tzilov Chad, he knew that he's going to face the death penalty with breaking Shabbat. But he wanted to show and display the severity of breaking Shabbat to the other people. So he says, you know what? I'm going to break Shabbat publicly. I'm going to get killed for it. So everyone should learn how bad breaking Shabbat is. That's also wrong because, as we spoke about before, don't take the law into your own hands. Hashem doesn't want you to break Shabbat. Yeah, you have a nice intention of showing people how severe Shabbat is, but that's incorrect. And you got punished for that. So here, you had to have someone who wants to break Shabbat, but holds himself back. He did the tikkun. He fixed what Tzilov Chad did, and therefore, he was rewarded with the tzlaf, but also shows us that he did his tikkun. He did what he was meant to fix. We don't know our tachlit. Spoke about this before. We don't know what our purpose is. But when we go through the Torah, I heard this story from a great rabbi, Rabbi Zev Leff, still alive. Great rabbi, lives in Israel. He was a rabbi in Miami for many years. Heard many classes from him, and he said that he was at someone's deathbed, a righteous person, and the person said, Rabbi, how do I know if I did my job in this world? And he answered him. He said that when a person goes through the Torah and lives a life of Torah and mitzvot, then Hashem will guide you to your purpose. We don't know if we don't have a Navi, we don't have a prophet to tell us what exactly our purpose is, each and every one of us. But when we follow the Torah and the mitzvot, Hashem will guide us to where we got to do what we got to do in order to fix, in order to get to our full tachlit, our full purpose. Bezrat Hashem, may we strengthen ourselves and Bezrat Hashem not speak Lashon Hara about Israel, not speak Lashon Hara about fellow human beings. Do our best when it comes to unity, do our best to, for our tachlit, recognize the responsibility involved and Mesirut Nefesh involved, the sacrifice involved in Hashem's Torah, and do our best to be the best Jew that we could be. Thank you again. I know it's been 2 weeks off, but now that we're back on, hopefully we'll keep it running and have a good rest of your day. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, Rabbi. Mazago Baruch.
Bye bye.
Thanks, Rabbi.